Joe Rogan's talking about the Nazca mummies. Jesse Michaels is talking about them. Luke Caverns is doing a show on them. Everybody is talking about the Nazca mummies. So I guess it's time to do a Nazca mummy update. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. We've got bodies, y'all. We've got bodies. This is UFO disclosure. But if a tree falls in the forest and it doesn't make a, if nobody's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Well, it's making a sound now, guys, and I love it. The truth is getting out. So what do we have to talk about today other than multiple people making videos about it? Well, we've got Eric Burleson, who has actually seen some of the mummies and has been speaking out about them at the urging, no less, of David Grush.
What about the Nazca mummies? You think they're digging aliens out of the ground down there, or do you think it might be all for show?
I think that the mummies that I saw are probably fake. The ones that were in Mexico City. I was hoping that I was going to see the larger mummies, the ones that Jesse Michael just recently saw. But that was not the case. So I guess in order to see those, you got to fly to Peru with special permission. And Peru is not exactly, and Mexico City is not exactly the safest place to go to.
Okay, now he did have some additional comments, talking about David Grush and how David Grush was shown in briefing material, and we don't know what all David was exposed to, but whatever it was, it made him encourage Eric Burleson to go down and see the mummies because at least the human-sized ones were very similar to some evidence that David had been shown. So I'm really excited that Eric is at least open-minded to it. Now, like Jesse Michaels, he didn't have a very favorable view of the little guys, which I think is really unfortunate because that's where we get the complete picture of the mummies is by examining all the different specimens. Now, at the hearing, they went into some detail about the Nazca mummy, the little guys.
I have had the opportunity to analyze more than 10 of these so-called small bodies, which on average measure 60 centimeters in height. Of these bodies, it is relevant to point out their anatomical particularities, which make them unique, such as its elongated skull of large size in proportion to the body, with a very large brain volumetric content capacity, very large, and that they have a rectangular-shaped foramen magnum just at the center of the base of the skull, which is very different from most species that were compared. Its neck has anatomical structures that would allow its probable elongation or contraction to facilitate its movement. Same thing happens or occurs in some types of turtle species. In the thorax, we can observe that the ribs are continuous from end to end at their point of union with each vertebra and are completely horizontal. Regarding its abdominal cavity, we have been able to observe ovoid structures or eggs of different sizes that allow us to affirm that it was in different stages of gestation and development. Embryonic structures have been identified in these eggs, thus confirming that it was a specimen undoubtedly alive during and in the reproductive and gestation stage. The clearest and most evident characteristic is found in their upper and lower extremities, made up of long bones that are hollow on the inside, but they are divided by an intraosseous lamina, which provides lightness but hardness and structural resistance.
Okay, I'll let you watch the full thing at your leisure. This is from a documentary about the Nazca mummies, but it has some of the best audio from the hearing in Peru. Now, there might be a new hearing coming up in the near future. I can't wait for that. I did have to show some of the snickering from Flavio and the other guys. Let's see. In a second, you'll see Flavio. Look at these are the debunkers from the Ministry of Culture. They're just over there laughing and snickering. Very disgusting behavior. But yeah, okay. So telescoping necks. That's intriguing. We have hollow bones, also very intriguing. We have, well, we'll go to the image here of the artwork. I think it's rock art petroglyphs from Arizona. All right, hang on, let me find it. Yeah, here we go. Shared by Tom Thompson, where we can see this tridactyl being. Yeah, in Sedona, Arizona. Yeah, Sedona, of course. With a small head and what might be a telescoping neck. Now, the whole body is very elongated, so who knows? That could just be a stylistic choice, but I thought that was interesting. This, small-headed, long-necked tridactyl being depicted in Sedona. Now, there's, depictions all around the world, and I've shown them multiple times, of beings that might very well be similar to the small Nazca mummies. This is just something that people were, experiencing around the world. Very intriguing. How did they get from place to place? If they, were living on Earth with the peoples of the time, did they have access to UFOs? Well, there's some evidence to suggest that maybe they did. And that is from some of the specimens, or not specimens, but artifacts that were supposedly found along with the bodies. Now, these haven't been corroborated or authenticated in the degree that I would like. And they show weird things like winged, whatever those guys are, and things that might be dogs, might be horses, might be dinosaurs. Don't know what those are, but they also show these flying saucers. So interesting. And they show, I don't know, you may have to squint to see that guy, but there's a little fella that looks identical to the Virginia being from James Fox's movie Moment of Contact, from that case, where you have these small beings with these triple crests on their head. Well, that's exactly what you're seeing right there. You also have images of these elongated skull beings and others. So if these are authentic, that might indicate they had some access to UFOs, which is really interesting because, some of the beings that we know of that a lot of science has been done on, like Maria, seem to have had difficult lives. Maria's feet were burned by the sand that she lived in. Their teeth were worn down. So, it's hard to make sense of. It's hard to make sense of. I was looking for the information about Maria having grapes in her intestine. I couldn't immediately find that story, but yeah, Maria had grapes in her intestine. Grapes don't grow in South America. Where did she arrive at those grapes? Were they given those grapes by beings that did have access to UFOs? They definitely had access to some high technology. They had implants in them. I think every species so far studied had implants. Individuals of those species or subspecies had implants in them. Tridactyl says pictured the metal implants of Artemis in Alberto, his own inner ear acting as an implant. Artemis may have experienced several breech births, resulting in multiple invasive procedures, as the tridactyl's hearing may have relied on mandibular cranial bone conduction, transmitting vibrations from the jaw through the otic complex to the inner ear. The transplantation likely resulted in a functioning auditory system. Okay, well, very interesting. And here's a post from Gonzalo Chavez. Dr. Zalche, holding one of the least studied and most recently discovered specimens, the winged tridactyls, also referred to as insectoids. The discovery of different sizes suggests they may represent various developmental stages. Preliminary analysis indicates that these beings reproduce through eggs and also possess biointegrated implants. Yeah, they all had implants. Now, does this mean they had access to high technology, or does it possibly indicate that the beings that created them had access to that high technology in those UFOs? I tend to think that it was this latter explanation because, again, some of them appeared to have been lived very rough. They had rough living conditions. Some of them died violently. So I don't see them, having a luxurious life aboard UFOs or whatever. I see them as living on the ground, as they're depicted in the textiles, of the Nazca people who seem to be experiencing these guys and living with them or near them, aware of them, and incorporating them into their artwork. So they were living on the ground, not in spaceships, but yet they had access to grapes, in things that may not have been from that area. So possibly whoever created them was still interacting with them, which could explain the differences in the various specimens. For example, Maria had no navel, but others like Montserrat, she would have given a live birth. Presumably, she had a navel, and Raphael, the fetus inside Montserrat, would have had a navel. So why is that? Are the creators of these beings, the people putting, or the beings putting in these implants, are they, still creating different specimens as they go along, or possibly are they, some sort of class-based hierarchy like ants? Maybe there's, like ant colonies will have a warrior ant and a drone ant and a queen, worker ants, and so on. Was it something like that? So many questions to answer. I hope that we do get answers. People are, asking the right questions. For example, Jay Anderson is saying, what if they are a subterranean species from Earth that selectively interfaces with the surface dwellers? And I think that's a really interesting thought. I worked with a remote viewer, Anita Conan, in a very interesting remote viewing session. The target was actually something else. But when I was giving her the target, I was thinking about the Nazca mummies, of course, and she saw the Nazca mummies and was able to go back in time and view them and the peoples of the time. She was even able to interact with the Nazca mummies, like psychically communicate with these beings, who told her that, yeah, they lived underground and they had been there for a long time. At the same time, evidence doesn't seem to indicate that they evolved naturally. Again, they seem to have been created species. The implants that are in them, the hybridization that seems to have taken place, Maria's Asian DNA, which has also been found in a couple of hybrid cases, modern hybrid cases, seem to argue that they were created by whoever is creating hybrids and abducting people. So yeah, the beings running around in UFOs abducting people, to my mind, likely created the Nazca beings. So to me, this is clear proof of UFOs and of occupants of those UFOs, and possibly even some DNA or genetics from those beings. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, the little guys are real. You can see inside the eggs, as that researcher at the hearing was talking about. They had fetuses or larvae, whatever the right word is, for what was inside those eggs. They weren't just stones or whatever placed in their abdomens. They were actual eggs. I hope to see more research done on the eggs, because just as Raphael is, the fetus inside Montserrat is the smoking gun for, the larger Nazca mummies, a tridactyl fetus inside a tridactyl being, impossible to fake. So too, I think that the beings inside these eggs, if we could prove that these are similar to the beings whose bodies they're in, the mothers, then, again, I think that's the smoking gun. But we have so much. Josh McDowell, the son of Dr. John McDowell, is drawing our attention to Paloma, who had red hair, the only one of the Nazca beings to have been found with hair. And not just any hair, but red hair, which has been found in, the elongated beings of the Paracas skulls. Also, giants around the world are said to have red hair. What's up with that? What's the connection there? Josh McDowell is actually, Josh is asking those questions. Red-headed mummies have been found in Egypt, China, Peru, more places where red hair wouldn't be expected. Stay tuned for answers to this and other questions people aren't even asking about the Nazca mummies. I can't wait, Josh. Bring it on. J. Alberto is saying the Congress of Peru has directly received these statements from Congressman Eric Burleson about the Nazca mummies and will urge him to be a distinguished guest in Peru for a session with the Tridactyls in the second hearing. So, yeah, wouldn't that be amazing if Eric Burleson showed up at the next Peruvian hearing on the Nazca mummies? That would be just incredible. Now, I would be kind of shocked if he does go. We just heard him talk about some of the difficulties involved in that. But hey, I've been shocked before. I was shocked that he went down to check out the Boogosphere and the small Nazca mummies. So I would love to be shocked again. Jason Sands is also interested in the Nazca mummies. I think we're going to hear more about the veracity of some of these mummies. All right. Well, I hope we do, man. Wouldn't that be incredible? So yeah, more information is coming out all the time about the Nazca mummies. They're jockeying for a next hearing in Peru. Hopefully, there won't be as much from the debunking Ministry of Culture, and there will be more from the scientists and the researchers who have actually studied the real Nazca mummies, and they didn't intentionally study the dolls that Flavio and the others studied. Yeah, so it's just incredible, guys. This is UFO disclosure. They could not have evolved naturally, not several different species of tridactyls with different morphologies, different reproductive cycles, different sizes. Yeah, there's no way they could have evolved naturally. They were created almost certainly, in my mind, by the beings that are still abducting people today, that are still putting implants in people today. And sometimes, the hybrids they create have Asian DNA, much like Maria did. If that's true, do they also have a hand in creating the elongated skull people? The Paracas skulls, very close to Nazca. Of course, the elongated skull people were all around the world. But so were the small tridactyls, at least according to the artwork that I've shown of native people around the world. Very similar beings, in any case, depicted in that artwork. What possible connection could there be to the giants that may still be around that had red hair? What connection does that have to the Egyptian mummies and others that Josh McDowell was talking about with the red hair? So very interesting possible connections, possibly some answers of the ancient world could be found if we only understood the Nazca mummies. And we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Jesse Michaels, Joe Rogan, and more are talking about the Nazca mummies, getting this information out there, starting to take it more seriously. Even Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp are now open-minded about the Nazca mummies. I love it, guys. Let me know what you guys think about it all in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. If you want to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below. Become a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel, a lot of them about the Nazca mummies, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.